Mame fa na asema PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV de osia dem yopo.
Muntaka Mubarak, the MP for the people of Asawase. Na Okopiemu a public accounts committee. Yeah, there was a clash between Ono Muntaka and the Abena or say Asare. Yeah, a home report Bremo. My person become hone yakoti the details of the clash between Muntaka and the Abena or say Asare, public accounts committee. A higher PENDREAM TV, subscribe to the channel, bell notification on a share my afofro and sa and kebi. Uti and semna now the quadrenture about a comment section.
For conference, is sought permission to travel, so that's why her deputy is here.
Because I know it's all women for the fire and prison. Yes. So when they are not here, I know they are not here. Yes, and Minister, the first has to do with some stalled contracts. But to be honest with you, this has to do with funding. And the funding will have to come from. I told this project began somewhere in the 90s. We have already sunk some money into it. What can we do to make sure we complete this project? Because once public funds have been sunk into it, we can't abandon it. We have to find a way to complete it, assess it properly, and then repackage and give it out for us to complete. So, Minister, how are you going to help salvage the situation and make sure once public funds have been invested into it, we can do something about it?
Well, thank you very much, Madam Chair. This is a very difficult one. I mean, we came to inherit a situation that many before us came to equally inherit, where government starts a project and for one reason or the other, they are unable to complete after a year or two, then it gets abandoned. For many reasons. One, lack of payment. Two, the longer that it takes to get it completed, then it becomes unprofitable. Then the contractors are no longer interested. They want variation. They want you to be able to, revalue for the actual values to be paid so that it to be profitable, and the front and back. So one of the things that we did since we came was to task the Inspector General of Police, who is here, to try and see all those such uncompleted projects, whether we can put all of them together and tell the stages at which they are. Then we can try, as you know, yes, they say the money must come from the Mother Ministry, but I know, Madam Chair, you are much aware that we also go cap in hand to finance to try to explain and get the understanding that this should be completed. I want to say that what we have is not even the complete, because some of the projects, I know there's a project in Tamale that have been there since the 70s. Some of them were not captured because it's like these are long overdue, so they've not been captured. Currently, the Inspector General of Police and his team are trying to put all of them together. But the one that you have seen is just about 100 million. But the interesting thing is that this year, the total capital expenditure, as approved by Parliament, by the Minister of Finance and Parliament, is only 10 million for police. Meaning that any attempt to even imagine that you could even start addressing it will be deceiving yourself. But we are working with the Ministry of Finance to see how we can salvage this project, because each of them is a very important project, and that's why they were initiated. We cannot now assume that they are no longer important. So we are working with the Ministry of Finance to see how we can be giving space. And I must commend the Ministry of Finance for what they are doing now. They won't let you start anything that they have not made budgetary allocation to. And that is why today, no project is started from the Ministry of Interior unless we get commitment authorization from the Ministry of Finance and have a budget line that shows that we can start. If we can't finish in a year, then we indicate that it will be a multi-year project. So that's what we are trying to do to prevent what is happening now from repeating itself. But as to what has already happened, we are currently working with the Inspector General of Police, and not even only police, because what has been captured in the audit report is only the police. But believe me, almost all the agencies have these kind of projects that have stored at one state or the other. But unfortunately, some of them have not been captured by the auditors yet. But the steps that we are taking is to ensure that, one, we plug the loophole by not repeating the mistake of the past, making sure that everything that we want to do is budgeted for and is in our budget. If it's going to grant beyond a year, we should indicate it and get the Ministry of Finance to authorize it, assuring that even though it may take 3 years, you will allocate something for this year and then it will continue. And currently, I can tell you that we are doing, I think, about 7 regional offices with immigration. And that's exactly what we did with Ministry of Finance to avoid it's been repeating itself. But for those that has already been done, we are currently trying to put all of them together. Then we can present the requirement, what will be required to complete them with the Ministry of Finance, and hoping that if not mid-term, maybe next year, they may find space to accommodate us, even if not all, so that at least we can take steps to get them completed. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much,
if ID, you may want to add something.
I also think that looking at the quantum of projects that you said are uncompleted, you said this is just the tip of the iceberg. Construction of flats for police, I'm sure there are other security agencies that have also invested in some of these things. Now we have the PPP law to guide us. It cannot all sit on the books of government because the revenue implications are huge. I think we should look at, once you package everything together, look at, we have a law guiding us on the PPP, and look at how you can partner with private people to make sure they help you complete these things. Because to be honest with you, government alone cannot take up that responsibility. And so once you combine it with, you work with the private partners to make sure it happens, I think they also find a way to recoup their money in so many ways by government giving into 1 or 2 things per what the PPP law advises us to do, so that we can complete some of these projects, because flats for officers are very important and they need flats. I mean, you go around cantonments, you see all those prison flats, and they are choked. And so maybe you should package it together, work with the Ministry of Finance, and think of going into a PPP to help address some of these situations, so that you continue with the already existing ones, the new ones that you have begun, you are able to complete it, and then you get support in a way to also complete the very old ones that are also needed.
Well, Madam Chair, thank you so much. We are already currently having a number of PPP. What we noticed is that most of our business people do not want to come and meet an uncompleted project and say that, I mean, they should complete it for something in exchange. What they normally prefer is that we have a land, let's say, currently we have a PPP that is going on with police, prisons, fire. It's only immigration who do not have enough land. But prisons, if you go around cantonment, around the headquarters, you see some building coming up. You have, let's say, 10-acre plot or land, even with sometimes infrastructure there, let's say the accommodation, someone comes in with a very good proposal. Can you give me half of the land? I'll build 3, 4, 5-story to accommodate more than the offices that you are currently, accommodating on the whole of the 10 acres, and then in exchange for A, B, C, D. And a number of that is already going on. One of the challenges that we are having is that if, for example, you go to the Tesano, we have these magnificent buildings for the police. I mean, some of them very strategic. They are uncompleted. If you ask someone to come to complete the uncompleted buildings, they are not interested. But
it means what you are putting on the table is not attractive enough, so maybe you should look at that too.
Well, you are right, because, for example, most of the land that we have in Accra are being occupied by officers. So, for example, if I want to do an exchange with someone with the, say, the bungalow where, let's say, the IGP lives, it should be that you are going to build a decent accommodation for the IGP on part of it, and then take the other part. So where you have an uncompleted building, the person is asking, what are you going to give me? What I have is what officers are already occupying. So if I'm going to dislodge them, where am I going to put them? So, but like you said, we'll look at it and see in maybe you are going to take 5 acres to do, instead of maybe 200 units, can you do 150 and then the other 50 use it to complete an existing uncompleted project? We'll look at it, but I can assure you that we are equally interested in getting this thing done. And we'll definitely look at how we can include these uncompleted buildings as part of the land swap arrangement that we currently have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, based on your submission, there are a lot of scattered and completed buildings around. Some are dating back in 90s. What is the, my question is regards to structural integrity. Those are dated long ago. What is the integrity in terms of, those buildings? Are they still fit for purpose?
Well, Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, what I will say is that each of the buildings are not just being counted as, say, maybe an assemble hall for police or for prison. We are doing that together with the integrity of the building. Can the building be sustained? If it can't, what we simply will mark it as, this is an uncompleted building that started in the 70s, but currently the structure is not fit for purpose and therefore it should be demolished. This one is started maybe in 2000, it's still very solid. And so behind me, you see we have their architects are here. Police has an architect. Many of them have these professionals that are there to advise. And sometimes we even go beyond them to get AESL to confirm that, oh, this structure, we can still go on. So when we say we are going to complete, I want to assure you that it is because the structural integrity has been confirmed that it can be sustained. Those that cannot be sustained, obviously we need to demolish them so that we may have to start all afresh for that purpose that we wanted to use the land for. Thank you.
Minister, I can understand the frustration of getting PPP or getting private people to come on board, especially with these stalled projects. Because, for instance, if you look at projects in Salt Pond, these are all floods, police floods that dates back to 1990 and all of that. So it's difficult. Probably maybe we have to take a decision that will break it down for a fresh reconstruction to go on. But I've seen that in some areas, and I'll use my constituency, we're trying to build a regional police unit with flats. And the District Assembly Common Fund is funding it. Can't we have a way, now that the DACF is uncapped, we can get the assemblies, for instance, in Keta, to complete the 8 units, the flats that is being built. Let's get assemblies to complete it. Then they can have an arrangement with the police unit and at least take some fee. I think that it's a better way of getting these projects completed, because if it's a directive from government that this is how we want to go, all stored projects for the security services find ways and means of completing it, I think they can squeeze some money and complete it. We may want to consider that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a very laudable suggestion. And as if you call my colleague, the Honorable Ahmed, I've started that discussion with him. And I've told them that, look, sometimes we try to make the police and the security service look as if they don't belong to the community. So in fact, one of the things the current Inspector General of Police is trying to encourage is that you come and say, oh, can you come and build a police station for us? They say, no, build it yourself. Because one of the things that we notice, during riots, the communities, if they build it themselves, they don't burn them. They usually go and burn the one that government came to build. I don't know, for whatever reason, they think that if it is built by central government, it doesn't belong to them. But if they did communal labor or they use their common fund to do it, that one day it belongs to them. So currently, one of the strategies of the Inspector General of Police is that you want police stations, sometimes I minute to him, can we assist and say, can we get them to build it themselves, then we'll send the personnel so that they will own it. So in line with that, I think it's a very laudable idea. We'll engage the Disassembled Common Fund administrator together with the local government minister to encourage the MMDCs to own this. In fact, in my region, Asante region, the last time I met the MMDC, I was telling them same. I said, why is it that you just think that after the security agencies, they don't belong to you? You chair the DISASSOC or MUSEC, and you are with them. But there are issues, you make it as if it is only for central government. Try and be interested in some of the things that they do. In my constituency myself, even members of parliament like myself and you, can also help. When I first became a member of parliament for Aswanse, there was only one police station, which was today we call it the airport police station. It used to be the Aswanse police station. Today, we have 5. All of them, no exception, I built them. There was no fire station. It was only Menchia fire station. That was 7. All of us, we built one in Asukromombon to take care. And that is initiative from the MPs. I know sometimes the common fund that comes to the MPs is like small, but if you strategize very well, there are 400,000. So we should be looking at it, but this is a very good.
I think we should work at this, trying to complete and also support, but then it shouldn't be done under compulsion. It should come when it's the priority of the district or the municipal or the metropolitan, but it shouldn't be at all costs, this is what you have to do. So let's also bear that in mind, because there are other equally important things that the districts, municipals, and the metropolitans will also want to use their DACF for. But largely, for security, the central government should own the security and make sure things happen. But I will be happy to support you and to look at how best, when you put everything together, how best you can take some from the Ministry of Finance and also get private people to support you complete quite a number of them so our people can have flats and have a place to live. So we move on to Honorable Minister. I'll come to NIA, but I want to move on to another infraction that your ministry was cited for. That is where I think we have all the security agencies in there as well. That about 3 billion of commitments had been settled already in 2024 per the review of the payment records, yet they were included in the outstanding claims. I think it's part of the 10.3 billion that was rejected outright. So if our people can, the various agencies can throw some light on it, how something that had already been committed and settled was included in.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I will let it start from the ministry itself. So the Chief Director will speak to those specific, those that, because yes, we went for the validation meeting at Ministry of Finance where they had to take all those that were repeated. And so I'll let her speak first, then I'll let them speak in 10 so that everybody will speak for himself. Just to remind you, Madam Chair, almost all the service commanders here were not there when those infractions were done. So when it gets to their turn, they may call the relevant officers who were there to answer, if you permit us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. But Minister, like I said, this is not to accuse anybody of anything. There are structural issues that we want to address. So for me, it is not just a matter of speaking to it, but what have you put in place to make sure these things do not reoccur, especially when there's a change in government and then we are looking at the stock of liabilities that we have. That is when you see these huge sums of money. So whether they were there or not, there's continuity in government. And what I want to see is, yes, this has been, on this occasion, this was the commitment that had already been paid, but yet was included. Moving forward, these are the checks and balances that I have put in place so that these things wouldn't occur again. I mean, that's all.
Well, Madam, I perfectly agree with you. I know. I just wanted each of them to speak briefly about what happened. Then I'll tell you what we are trying to do to make sure that those things do not repeat themselves. So maybe, if you permit me, if you permit me, I will let the Chief Director start. Because one of the things that I can tell you, Mr. Chair, that I noticed, which I had to write officially to the Minister of Finance, most of the time, and with a greater respect, Madam Chair, you are the Minister of Finance, you get agencies writing straight to the Minister of Finance without passing it through their sector ministers. So you'll be sitting there, then all of a sudden something comes up, you are not aware. Or they have sent something and now they forward it to you again, then you now send it again, then before you realize the repetition is happening. So I had to write officially to the Minister of Finance that, in fact, to make it mildly, when we went for that politician meeting, I vehemently told the chief director that if you don't let them pass their expenditures and letters through me, don't ever call me to come and answer for them, but I won't answer for anything that did not pass through me. So this is one of the things that we are doing to make sure that all these kind of double letters or multiplications are avoided. And for example, with the heads of the agencies themselves, for example, if you take, let's say, immigration, you have a situation where he has 3 deputies, and each of them could write a letter to finance through me. You have IGP, has a lot of directors, I mean, director for technical, director for...
For the issue of communication between the audit service or the auditors and the agency involved. Because, I mean, this is a contract about 5 million. They paid 1-point-something million at their end. He claims that the Ministry of Interior paid the remaining 3 million. And you still let this appear in the books as if it's an outstanding commitment, or, I mean, that needs to be cleared.
Honorable Chair, you know, we were given an amount to validate. At the end of the process, we had to account for each. Even if it is rejected, we have to account for it. That is why it's reported.
But I think it's the explanation or the notes to the figure that you could have, I mean, sort of made it a bit clearer than what it is now. But I think what Minister said will cure some of these things. If it comes through one channel, tomorrow they'll be in a better position to account for it fully, that I know it came from one source. And so when I'm accounting for it, I take the whole thing and then account for it properly. But to be honest with you, these things keep reoccurring. And so we need to look at it and see how best we can structure some of these things. I'm happy with what the minister said. Minister, getting one source for giving out commands and sending out some of these things is not the only way. I think you should also have stricter measures such that maybe you already have it, that you have limits, that beyond a certain limit, person A cannot do this. Beyond a certain amount, person B cannot do this. So all these things will help. So that if you see a payment that is beyond 5 million, you know, oh, it is your chief director. If you see a payment below 5 million, it is the deputy, you understand? Maybe if you can put some of these things in place, and it will help us check some of these things. But clearly, it all boils down to reconciliation, constant reconciliation, making sure we reconcile monthly, reconcile quarterly with what we have. This will go a long way to check some of these things.
Madam Chair, well noted, and thank you so much.
And then the auditors are also saying that payables amounting to 3.3 billion were not recorded in GIFMIS.
Well, Mr. Chair, I hope the Chief Director could speak to this, if you don't mind.
Madam Chair, for all that I know, any transaction that is done in the ministry, it is done through the GIFMIS. When this particular issue came to our attention, we requested for documentation for us to know exactly what they are talking about. But up to now, we've not received any documentation. So we'll go back to them for them to give us the documentation that shows that this particular transaction didn't pass through GIFMIS. For all that I know, every transaction is done through the GIFMIS platform. Thank you.
Auditors, would you want to respond?
Chair, please, the transactions we validated, documentation was provided, and we had details of the information they provided for us to validate. What we are affirming is those transactions in GIFMIS. And throughout the process, we've had, so we had a debrief meeting before we exited. We had another meeting at finance to explain those details in terms of the specifics, which we couldn't cite in GIFMIS, although we validated a number of them. So this was a recommendation that going forward, there was a need to ensure that those transactions are properly reflected in GIFMIS.
So we'll be happy, we'll step this down and be happy for you to share the transactions amounting to 3.3 that you discovered were not on GIFMIS.
Right.
And then they in turn will validate as to whether truly it happened or it did not happen. So we'll be happy to we'll step this down, do that exercise, and then we can incorporate the findings into our report as well, because this is a very serious issue that we need to clear as soon as possible.
Mr. Chair, if you permit me, I'm not an expert in financing, but Madam Chair, you have been Administrator of Finance. You and I know there's no way any payment will get to controller if it's not through the GiveMe system. Unless there's a way that people can walk to controller with documentation that has not gone through the GiveMe. So if truly this is something that has happened, it is something worth not just cross-checking document. It's worth investigating that people could get to controller level without passing through the system. I mean, for me, it's even a crime. So, Madam, I agree with you. We must get them to get the facts, and let's interrogate it properly so that we'll see which method was used to get that to controller, so that we can make sure that it never happens. So I agree with you that this is something that they must provide us with the details. Thank you.
Yeah, Minister, that is the norm. We all hope that everything goes through GIFMIS, but sometimes things happen. That is why I want them to let you have the document where the 3.3 for you to cross-check and validate whether truly this is the situation before we can incorporate it into our report.
Go ahead. Mr. Chair, thank you very much. To the Acting Chief Director, I'd like to find out from you during the exit meeting, were you at the exit meeting with the auditors?
Yes, I was there with my minister.
Okay.
And that is where we requested for those information, sir. Thank you.
So, Minister, I think on this note we have dealt with your security agencies.
Well, Chair, I mean, I'm happy if we are done with the service commanders. I can assure
yes, that had to do with the stalled construction projects and the paid commitments. Yeah, there are some small issues which boils down to system controls and reconciliation. And I'm speaking to all the security heads as well, that let's do some of these things. Check our system, make sure we are on top of the system, put controls in place, and also in terms of reconciliation, let us do it constantly. If you can get one person in charge of that so that the person can own it. Usually when you say it's for a division, there's no ownership per se. But then when you have one officer doing that consistently, the person knows that if anything should happen, it is me they will call. And then the person can own up and make sure they discharge their mandates as is expected of them. So that is one thing I would advise all the security agencies to look into doing. And you continue with the controls at your end. And also at the agency level, please have your controls and systems up and doing so that you can prevent some of these reoccurrences. But on this note, I think I'm done with the security heads.
Okay. So I want to thank you sincerely and seek your indulgence for the heads of the security agencies to excuse us, because we're supposed to have had a joint intelligence committee so that they can go, but they can leave fewer officers, maybe the technical ones, so in case something comes up, then so that I will stay with NIA till maybe we are finished with NIA, but with your permission, since the heads of the agency are here, so that they could go and hold on to the front and deal with other intelligence issues. if you permit them, Chair.
That is granted, sir.
In fact, like I rightly said, a lot of these things that happened, some of us were not there. But during the exit meeting, I tried to understand what this whole thing is about. And I must say that with the greatest respect, I'm not the one to show auditors how to work. When we are exiting, let us all countersign. Let us all counter. This is what we've agreed. Because it's not helpful when you come into a public face and then it becomes we and them. I can think. Let us all countersign that this is what we've all agreed. Even if there are disagreements, let us state and all of us will sign, countersign that this is what we were exiting with. Because see, with the NIA, Madam Chair and Chair, if you permit me, it has a life cycle of 15 years. And each year and its commitment. If you go and take the whole of the life cycle and then try to bulk it and say that you are saying that this is a commitment, that is this, then you are wrong. Because the thing is said that, Chief, let me try and explain further, Mr. Chair. The NIA arrangement, the PPP that was signed, it wasn't signed today, it wasn't signed yesterday. It was signed like 8 years ago. 8 years ago. The understanding is that this is a national identity system that is so important to government. But it is done with private money, with the understanding that the NIA will generate some amount of money. And then it's agreed that if the year ends and NIA is not able to generate, let's say, year one, we expect that we'll generate $10 million. If NIA generates $9 million, the $1 million that they couldn't generate, government will guarantee that and step in to hold the system so the system doesn't collapse. So if the year ends and NIA has been able to generate $8 million, what it means is that the guaranteed revenue government has to supplement will be $2 million. So if you are talking in respect of that year, you'll be talking about the $2 million. You'll not be talking about the subsequent year, which is maybe a $10 million that's supposed to, because it's not yet there. And that is why I'm saying that, and if you look at, as at December 31st, 2024, the exchange rate that was being used is different from the exchange rate today. And my sister, the chair, is here, who attests, finance will never pay you based on an exchange rate of yesterday. If they are going to pay you money, even if you have calculated as of yesterday the exchange rate of, let's say, 11 cedis, if today the exchange rate is 10 cedis, they will pay you based on today. So for you as auditors, and with the greater respect, not teaching you what to do, it's better to keep it in its denominated form, the dollar. Because if it's going to be paid, it will be paid as at the rate of that day. So if you go and try to translate it by using some exchange rate, every day you change that figure. Because once the money is going to be paid, they will use an existing exchange rate. So to cut this argument short, to say, in the exit meeting, this issue that they are raising, I went with the agencies, I sat throughout. There was not a single, if they will admit, there was not a single meeting that I did not attend, and I said, even my deputy should attend. And this never came up. That's why I'm saying that when we are exiting, let us countersign to say that this is what we all agree, so that it kills the argument. But if you take the advantage of your position where you are, the final report comes from you. So you can go and put it in a certain narration that doesn't reflect the exit meeting. Obviously, you create this, you may be speaking about the same thing, but you are putting it in a terminology that doesn't sit well with us. And we are not able to answer, because so far we are concerned, we never agree with you that there was anything near this 3 billion. What we know, our headache, the outstanding for the guarantee payment was just about 50 million, right? Yeah. $43 million. Yes, that's what we know. So if they are saying there's some 3-point-something million, Chief, Chair, I will say that if you want, just like you've done with the other, you can stand there and ask for the details, and let us all look at it. Thank you.
All right, auditors, you have anything to say before I roll on?
So, Honorable Chair, we have the details here. So we'll submit it.
All right, so we'll step it down.
Yes, the figures as we have it emanated from NHI.
Okay.
The exchange rate is here. Sorry, NI, sorry. The exchange rate is here. The December translation is also here. So we'll give the details and then we'll take it from there.
We'll step it down and then we'll move forward on it. Okay, so Honorable Minister, we are done with you and your agencies.
Chief, we want to thank you sincerely for your invitation, and I want to assure the committee I keep learning a lot anytime I meet you. You know, I don't have any finance background, so I learn a lot from how to help keep my agencies upright. And I want to thank you once again for the opportunity to have interacted with you and to assure you that we'll do everything humanly possible to protect every peso of the purse, government, the public purse, from our end. So thank you so much for the invitation. We are grateful.
Minister, it's always a delight to have you here. So we are also equally grateful.
Respectfully, NI submitted documents for the payment of revenue guarantee amounts payable under the government support agreement, totaling $43,674,686. That is the claim. That is the amount that we submitted for payment. When you convert it to cedis, at the rate that was given, to amount to 679,141,376.32 Ghana cedis. Again, the chairman, over the period April 2019 to 31st December 2024, NI validated revenue guaranteed invoices totaling 314,848,544.97. That's the commitment. And when you translate into dollars, it amounts to $4,895,894,874. That's the commitment. Out of which a total payment of $264,713,713.39 United States dollars payment was made, leaving total balance, outstanding balance of 50.7 million. 50.7 million. That was the actual balance left. But Mr. Chairman, in December. So you don't know the figure? Yes. Yes. So, Mr. Chairman,
Sir,
to end it all.
With all due respect,
Okay.
we ask you a specific question.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, the 3.8 billion.
Yes.
We don't know how they came by it.
You don't know how we came by it?
Yes, because we're not giving the details.
But
our figure was
but when the auditors came, they had an exit interview with you, right?
Yes, yes. When they came here, they validated the 43 million. It was PwC, 2 officers who came, and we gave them all the necessary documents.
But before they left, didn't they tell you about the 3.8 billion?
No, not at all.
They didn't mention anything to you?
No.
Auditors, could you please answer that?
Honorable Chair, as I mentioned earlier, we had debrief meetings with all institutions before we closed the audit. We also had another meeting at Finance. So in the schedules submitted for our review, there was outstanding commitment of about $907 million. If you do a translation of it, as at December, and comparing it with the translated figure, it leaves a balance of 3.8 billion emanating from translation differences. And it's those translation differences that we are saying that when you do that translation at the year end, then that balance on the commitment side could not be supported. And we had debrief meetings to engage on these matters before we had been translated. And you have to signal that difference out.
So I guess our challenge is that clearly these are administrative. It's not deliberate. And then you had exit meetings with them. So if you had conclusive discussions at your exit meetings, then these don't have to appear in reports for us to come and waste public funds in trying to interrogate.
Honorable Chair, there is a commitment value. So we had received a schedule from finance saying that this is the value of commitment as at 31st December 2024. Go and test and be sure that that amount is correct. So if you do a translation of it and it's not correct, or it doesn't add up, you need to flag it to say that that translation at the year end is this amount and doesn't compare to what had been included in the schedule which was given to us to audit. So you really have to communicate on that to say that when you do the translation, this is the difference that you are getting. And precisely that is what we did, and it's even in the detailed report.
Yes, so the figure that the entity is submitting to Ministry of Finance must be compared to the translation rate that has been given. Okay, so if you have $100,000, and we are saying that the translation is 15 cedis per the dollar, you have to multiply that and send the figure to the Ministry of Finance. If you are sending something that is higher than when you multiply the translation rate and the actual amount, and it comes to us as auditors, and we also do analysis and we see that the figure is overstated, we would have to report on that. And that is the reason why it has been captured in the report as such. And so we needed to report on it because it was an anomaly. It was a figure that must be rejected.
Mr. Chair.
Dedi kama mamena PENDREAM TV ase. Now so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Ah nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.